Hello and very warm welcome to English News Bulletin. Here with you with top stories from Turkey and Kurdistan. The protesters against KDP's digging trenches on the Rojava border continue. KDP's armed forces do not hesitate to open fire on people. Mevlut Heci Yunus, one of the protesters in Samalka, was killed on April the 15th by the KDP forces.
The Turkish and Hevler governments have been digging trenches on the east and northeast borders of West Kurdistan since the beginning of April. People from Rojava and North Kurdistan staged demonstrations each day at the borders against the trenches, protesting the governmental attempts to divide people and to isolate Rojava revolution. A NF reporter on the ground told that the number of Peshmerga forces deployed along the trenches has been multiplied in the recent days, and heavy weapons such as aircraft were sent to the region. On 15th of April, Turkish soldiers brutally assaulted and led to critical injury of 10 Rojava citizens on the border as they attempted to cross from West to North Kurdistan. The same day, Mevlut Heci was killed by KDP forces at Samalka when he was trying to cross the border between West and South Kurdistan as a protest action. The burial ceremony of Mevlut Heci took place in Samalka on 16th of April. At the same time, thousands of people from Cizre Canton gathered at the border to protest the trenches and the brutal assault of KDP Peshmergas on people on Wednesday. People started to fill in the trenches back even by carrying the banks of earth with their hands. After the mass action, they set 10 tents at the border and started vigilance against the digging of trenches. People declared their determinacy to continue the vigilance until the digging of trenches are stopped. Apart from the border area, people staged demonstrations in each settlement in Rojava to protest the trenches. In Kobane, it was on the initiative of the Women's Defense Forces, Yekityasta, that the protests were staged. Women stated that digging trenches meant an attack to Rojava revolution and therefore a betrayal to the revolution. Women said KDP acted as a partner of the Turkish state in its attack to Rojava. In North Kurdistan, Kurdish people and the democratic forces protest against Turkish army's intensified military activity, building of new outposts and the digging of trenches. In Mardin, the Trade Union of Public Workers organized an action to protest the trenches, calling AKP and KDP to stop immediately the digging of trenches. In the meantime, in sympathy with Rojava, thousands of people in federal Kurdistan in the cities of Suleimani, Derbendikhan and Hevler held demonstrations condemning the trenches. The protesters in Hevler demonstrated in front of the parliament, demanding an extraordinary session to stop the digging of trenches. After the demo, the spokesperson of the action, Mezin Kakai, was detained by KDP forces. Protesters continue their wait in front of the parliament for the release of Kakai.
Now to get the latest updates from Rojava, Mehmet Hassan, a journalist, is on the line with us. Good evening to you, Mehmet.
Thank you. My greeting for you and all personnel in Madnucha TV.
Thank you, Mehmet. Now thousands of people, they've been protesting against trenches for days and weeks now. And KDP's harsh reaction towards people, and again, people, yesterday, thousands of people come together to set up tents on the border of West Kurdistan and South Kurdistan. Could you just tell us what's the situation there like at the moment?
Yes, in the beginning, the protests of people continues in Rojava on the border with South Kurdistan to protest the treachery trenches of the government of the province of South Kurdistan and the Kurdistan Democratic Party, Kadapa, hostile to the people of Rojava and its digging trenches on the borderline. The Executive Council of the province of Al Jazeera County, in a speech addressed to the government of of the province of South Kurdistan while she was with the demonstrations yesterday on the border between the southern and western Kurdistan on the need to stop the government of the authority of the dedication trenching because the driving of such trench is considered as education separation between brothers and cut all teeth that bring them. And before some days, Al-Peshmerga forces attacked on the people and they killed one citizen from Rojava when the young crossed the border to South Kurdistan in a challenge of international law and the rules of Human Rights Watch. Where is the United Nations from this? Are the people of South Kurdistan are sleeping? Where is Yanaka and Goran Morshin? In truth, the Kurdistan Democratic Party, KDP, is a despot party, not only in South Kurdistan, but also in Rojava. In the other way, Kurdish artist Farhat Tung and Turkish writer and journalist Hassan Jamal visited Rojava and elected by the people of Rojava on the border with South Kurdistan and protest against the government of the authority to dig a trench on the border with Rojava. Tung and the people of the protesters to fill that trench in a symbolic gesture of solidarity with the protesters. The artist Farhat Tung and the Turkish writer and journalist Hassan Jamal have gone this morning to the border region between Rojava and South Kurdistan by organizing parents sit-ups for a week in a protest against the government of the authority to dig trench on the border with Rojava. The guest was warmly received by the protesters and directed each of the Tung and the Farhad accompanied by the protesters to the border, and they participate in bridging the ditch as an expression of symbolic solidarity with the protesters.
Thank you very much, Mehmet Hassan. Thanks for your participation.
Thank you.
Mehmet Hassan reported from Rojava. The 26-kilometer trench separating the South and West Kurdistan has stirred new tension. PYD accuses KDP of attacking Rojava revolution in collaboration with the Turkish government. Federal Kurdistan authorities, on the other hand, make conflicting comments about digging trenches on the Rojava border.
KDP forces started digging trenches on the border with Rojava at the beginning of April and closed the border gate in Simalka, dismantled the bridge across the Tigris River, which had connected Rojava with the federal Kurdistan. The KDP had been limiting access to the Simalka border crossing since May of last year. The trench dug until now is 26 kilometers long, 2 meters deep and 3 meters wide. The Democratic Union Party, PYD, says that the trench is a project to isolate the Rojava. It blames the Kurdistan Democratic Party, KDP, for the idea. Al-Kurd Mullah Ali, the spokesman for the Kurdish region's Peshmerga Security Ministry, told AFP that the trench was to prevent the infiltration of militants and smuggling from the war-wracked country. The federal Kurdish authorities make conflict comments on whose command the trench was dug. The Deputy Peshmerga Minister Anwar Haji Osman said that the decision belonged to Kurdish administration and the Peshmerga Ministry, not to KDP. However, Peshmerga Minister Jabbar Yawar said he knew nothing about the trench. In another development, a Peshmerga commander told that the decision was a joint one of the Baghdad and Hewler governments, while Ali Musawi, an advisor of the Iraqi Prime Minister, told that the Iraqi government had nothing to do with the digging of trenches. On the other hand, Masoud Barzani, the president of the federal region of Kurdistan, accused the PYD of controlling West Kurdistan by armed force in collaboration with the Syrian regime. Speaking to Sky News Arabia TV, Masoud Barzani said, "The gains in West Kurdistan are temporary and they will disappear when the conditions change." While Barzani accused the PYD of collaboration, he contradicted himself by saying, "If there's an agreement between a group and the Syrian regime regarding autonomy for Kurds in Syria, then I would consider that a positive step, but I don't believe there is any political agreement. We have no evidence of such an agreement." As a response to Barzani, the chair of the Legislative Parliament of the Jazira canton of Rojava, Hekem Kalo, said the Kurdistan Democratic Party, KDP President Barzani, began to dig the trench because it was unable to dictate how Rojava is run.
Now, the Democratic Union Party, PYD, the ruling power on autonomous Kurdish region in Syria, condemning the building of the trench as an attempt to blockade the Rojava people and objected to Barzani's accusations.
Barzani recently accused the PYD of being an obstacle for the Rojava revolution rather than leading it. The PYD Executive Committee responded Barzani's accusation with a written statement saying Barzani's comments were irresponsible. Taking attention to armed clashes in Syria, PYD Executive Committee said Kurds' third-line policy of the last 4 years has proven to be the most correct and accurate political attitude in the region. PYD stressed the importance of the building of autonomous administrations in Rojava and said the autonomous administrations in Rojava based not on one-party rule but on democratic participation. PYD called attention to the attacks at Rojava Revolution and said the KDP participated in these attacks with the digging of trenches.
The gangs defeated by Rojava Defense Forces now staged dirty attack on Rojava. On Wednesday, the gang bombed bakery in Haseki, killing 5-year-olds and wounding 6 people. According to Hawar news agency, a bomb left in a bakery in Haseki exploded in the evening hours on Wednesday, killing a 5-year-old and wounding 6 people. An investigation has been started about the bombing. However, there has not yet been any information provided. April 14 was the anniversary of the start of general campaign against the Kurdish people in northern Iraq, known as Al-Anfal campaign. We present a short history of and fact figures from the genocide campaign in which 180,000 of Kurds were massacred.
The Al-Anfal campaign, simply known as the Kurdish genocide, was a genocidal campaign against the Kurdish people and other non-Arab populations in northern Iraq, led by the Ba'athist Iraqi president Saddam Hussein and headed by Ali Hassan al-Majid in the final stages of Iran-Iraq war. The Ba'athist regime started massacring Kurdish people on 14th of April 1982 in attempt of their Arabization and pursued its massacres systematically in the following years, taking the name of Anfal campaign. The campaign takes its name from Surat al-Anfal in the Quran, which was used as a code name by the former Iraqi Ba'athist government for a series of systematic attacks against the Kurdish population of northern Iraq, conducted between 1986 and 1989 and culminating in 1988. The Anfal campaign included the use of ground offensives, aerial bombing, systematic destruction of settlements, mass deportation, firing squads, and chemical warfare, which earned al-Majid the nickname of Chemical Ali. Thousands of civilians were killed during the anti-insurgent campaigns stretching from the spring of 1987 through the fall of 1988. The attacks were part of a long-standing campaign that destroyed approximately 4,500 Kurdish and at least 31 Assyrian villages in areas of northern Iraq and displaced at least 1 million of the country's estimated 3.5 million Kurdish population. According to the Iraqi prosecutors, as many as 182,000 people were killed. On 16th of March 1988, there was a genocidal poison gas attack on the city of Halabja, in which 4,000 to 5,000 Kurdish people were killed, most of them women and children. In addition to Halabja, there were also chemical attacks on Behdinan, Germian and Hewler plains, leading to death of hundreds and critical injury of thousands. Today, many people of the region carry the physical and psychological effects of the attacks. Saddam Hussein and Ali Hassan al-Majid were put on trial because of their role in the genocide, and both were executed. However, the Turkish and European governments, which provided the arms and the chemical weapons to Ba'athist regime, continue remaining silent. The Erbil parliament recognized the 14th of April as the start of Enfel operation. Sweden, Norway, United Kingdom officially recognized the Enfel campaign as genocide.
People's Defense Forces, HPG, released a written statement informing about the military activities in Kurdistan. Turkish army intensifies its military activity and increases the concentration of soldiers in North Kurdistan after the local elections. It has speeded in construction of new outposts and watch houses in the border. The outposts in Sars, Barwari and Dehe completed, together with some of the ones in Jolamark, Darsim and Van. People's Defense Forces HPG press office released a written statement giving detailed information of the Turkish army military activity. HPG said Skorsky-type helicopters of the Turkish army carried out shipments of the military supplies to the Marmarish and Grana hill posts in the border zone of Hakkari-Şemdinli district from early morning till late evening on April 15th. HPG reported intense military activity of Turkish soldiers and the village guards in the mentioned area. HPG also reported that the Turkish army has intensely been lying ambushes around the Çiçekli and Dasht military posts in Darsim, as well as around the Uzuntarla and Movik posts in Plumer since 9th of April. The majority force in the Kurdish region, the Peace and Democracy Party BDP, has launched practices preparing the grounds for possible democratic autonomy in the province of Hakkari and Şırnak.
Two provinces, Hakkari and Şırnak, have been selected as pilot zones for defining local policies in many areas such as education, health and agriculture, and for self-management of people. Demir Çelik, BDP Muş lawmaker and co-director of the party's program on local administrations, said they demanded a 20% of return from the income acquired by the state from energy resources in southeastern Turkey. Turkey cannot be administrated from one center anymore. We support an exclusive and democratic administration. We are not expecting regional autonomy, but what we ask for is local administration of 20-25%, Çelik said. Çelik explained that some practices tried in the pilot provinces would be implemented in other provinces as well. Some of these practices, like cooperatives, have been successful in villages. These practices have been brought to other provinces as well, Çelik said. This is a region where oil products, metals such as copper, tin and chrome are extracted and over 100 hydroelectric plants are operating. Despite all this, it's also Turkey's most underdeveloped region as well. Democratic autonomy does not only mean self-administration, but also letting the region have a say on how to use its resources, he added. Çelik's statements came only a few days after Diyarbakır co-mayor Gültan Kışanak demanded share on revenues from oil and answered by the Minister of Energy saying that it was not on their agenda. Responding to Minister of Energy, Çelik said, "We are involved in organizing a legitimate democratic struggle to gain our rights. This is a human, necessary demand that we shall not abandon."
Heval Koestani, a member of the Kurdistan Regional Parliament for the Goran Movement, has nominated Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan for the 2014 Nobel Prize. Koestani told that he received a written statement from Nobel Committee confirming his application. Heval Koestani, a deputy of Goran movement in Süleymaniye Parliament, nominated Abdullah Öcalan for the Nobel Peace Prize of 2014 on the basis of Öcalan's peace declaration in the last year's Nowruz and a Time magazine's selection of Öcalan as one of the most effective 100 persons in the world. Pointing to the similarities between Öcalan and Mandela, Koestani said Öcalan plays a similar role in the peaceful and democratic solution of the Kurdish problem. If Öcalan would be awarded with the Nobel Peace Prize, it will help promoting peace and democracy in the whole region. A large group of Kurds marched on Wednesday in Paris demanding justice for 3 activists shot dead in the French capital and protesting the silence of the French states on the issue. A large group of Kurdish people marched on Wednesday calling for a speedy investigation into the brutal murders of the 3 Kurdish women politicians on 9th of January 2012. The demonstrators condemned the silence of the French states on the case, asking if this resistance was the result of its cooperation in the murder. Kurdish people living in Paris gather each Wednesday in demands of justice for the 3 Kurdish women. The labor organizations in Istanbul declared a determination to rally in Taksim on 1st of May despite the governmental ban.
Confederation of Revolutionary Workers Union and Confederation of Public Workers Union representatives met Istanbul Governor Hüseyin Mutlu to state their will to demonstrate in Taksim on 1st of May, calling attention to the symbolic importance of the square for the working class movement in Turkey. The governor, Mutlu, has said Taksim Square will not be open for celebration on 1st of May, Labor Day. He said his government would be helpful for another place for the rally, but would not allow for Taksim. Despite Mutlu's message banning entry to Taksim Square on 1st of May, the organizing committee have declared their determination to rally there. Unions have said they will be in Taksim Square on 1st of May. The leftist political parties BDP, HDP, ODP, MHP also declared that they would rally in Taksim and called on government to abandon its undemocratic ban. In the meantime, a group of jurists have called on the government at a press conference to implement a European Court of Human Rights ruling from 2012 that said people would be allowed to hold rallies in the square.
Turkey's parliament is set to begin deliberations about bill expanding the powers of National Intelligence Organization, MIT, with additional missions both inside and outside the country, formally turning into an intelligence coordination body that will work directly under the Prime Minister.
The first 4 articles of the bill on National Intelligence Organization, MIT, have been adopted by the parliament in the midst of hot discussions. Accordingly, MIT is allowed to hold meetings and negotiations with the convicts in the prisons. In the meantime, the ruling Justice and Development Party, AKP, is considering the establishment of a parliamentary commission to oversee all intelligence organizations, including the police, gendarmerie, and the National Intelligence Organization, as part of a bid to allay worries that the new law will furnish the spy service with almost unchecked power. The need to establish such a commission emerged after even some AKP lawmakers voiced concerns that the bill could produce a high-powered intelligence organization without introducing necessary mechanisms to check its actions. People's Democracy Party HDP co-chairman Ertuğrul Kürkçü criticized the bill and said, "The government's recent proposed changes to the National Intelligence Organization law are in violation of the European Union's Copenhagen criteria, and it is only designed to protect MIT." In a harsh criticism of the bill that will give extensive powers to MIT, Kürkçü said, "We can only laugh at the discourse claiming that such oppressive laws are to be passed to guarantee the peace process." The government has defended the changes, saying it will help facilitate the ongoing talks between MIT officials and the Kurdish leader Öcalan.
Istanbul and Heavy LGBTI Association held a press conference together with the Prison Commission of Human Rights Association in support of trans women prisoners on hunger strike against rights violations, discriminative actions and sexual harassments they face in the prisons. Trans woman convicts in Bafra F-type prison has started hunger strike to protest against the human rights violations, discriminative actions and sexual harassment they undergo in the prison. Istanbul LGBTI Association and Heavy LGBT Organization held a press conference on 16th of April together with the Prisons Commissions of Human Rights Association in support of trans women on hunger strike. Speaking on behalf of the group, Asya Elmas told that the trans women in Bafra F-type prison have been on hunger strike for 40 days. Elmas also called attention to Afsa Arikush, a trans woman who underwent systematic sexual abuse and violence in the prison, has been on hunger strike for 60 days and that she is at a critical threshold. Now, this was it from us for tonight. We will see you next week at the same time. Thanks for watching us. Bye-bye.